Starting from the dungeon to Cultivate Ghosts Introduction. www.zhaoshuyuan.com, Terraria Disaster. In the gloomy dungeon, Wang Yu squats on a small hill made of white bones. In this world, people with obsession will turn into white ghosts when they die, and the pile on my head is. If there is an extremely strong obsession, it will distort into a more powerful pink phantom soul, and this group behind me is. They can https://www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Overview of the protagonist and their subordinate ghost states 1. You are listening at novel full.audio. This table is convenient for recording information. Be careful of spoilers. Wang Yu, Protagonist. Skills. Status Hidden Step LV1, Assassination I, Supervision I, Jewelry. Cobalt Shield Main Weapon. Divine Cobalt Blue Sword. Xiao Hei. Ghost LV10, 3750/10000, Skill. Deterrence LV9. Little Green. Ghost LV5, 130/2000, Skill. Divine Hammer LV4. Tornado Ninja Rabbit. Ghost LV7, 4530/5000, Skill. Passive LV6. Increases physical ability by 120%. Pays. Ghost LV11, 0/13000, Skill. Solving Mystery LV10, Passive Skill. Chain Death. Papa. Ghost LV7, 0/5000, Skill. Sleepy LV6, Passive Skill. Chain Death. Please bear witness. Chapter 1. Starting from the dungeon. You are listening at novel full.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, Terra Continent. The two of them were lurking in the jungle cave. One team, do you think Lord Status can successfully assassinate? Little Black, dressed in black iron armor, looked at Wang Yu with a worried expression in his eyes. Nonsense, that assassin master, who can silently eliminate a full quarter of the Empire's troops alone, do you think he will succeed? In this world, distrusting oneself is a taboo, and Wang Yu can only bring out the glorious history of Status to calm his emotions. But assassination, what did our exploration team come to the front line for? It's simple, because compared to other troops, the training cost of exploration teams is relatively low. What does it mean? Little Black wondered. The meaning is that our deaths are more cost-effective than those of other troops' deaths. After speaking, it was like a bolt from the blue, and Xiao Hei trembled for a moment. He is not worried about his own life, he is only worried that after the failed assassination attempt, the resistance army will lose significant combat power. And the exploration team, a team that understands the terrain and the use of materials, is likely to have collected bodies for Status. Just kidding, don't think so much. Collect more materials and we'll retreat once the assassination is over. Wang Yu said as he pulled out the venomous stinger from the tail of the bee and put it into the bag behind him. Different from Xiao Hei. He is a traveler who can see the system, or rather inexplicable subtitles. Task %+ kill items, UN / difficulty. UN %. Specific location, enable system at rebooting. In theory, time travel is time travel into the game, but the time it takes to travel is several decades before the game time. Perhaps it is precisely for this reason that the system error occurred. In normal games, decades later, Alam is still alive. This indicates that the assassination will fail. But it's not a big problem, Wang Yu has already identified 3 escape routes. If the assassination fails, run away and leave the Green Mountains behind, not afraid of burning firewood. It's really not possible. After decades of effort, even if the system restarts, it's considered a victory. Furthermore, if the assassination is successful, we who are also on the front line will be the great heroes, and we will receive great rewards. No matter what, it can't be considered too disadvantageous. Suddenly, the air temperature rises rapidly without warning. This is not a good omen. Immediately after, Xiaohei patted him. "Wang team, what is that?" He looked up at the words and fixed his gaze. Not far away, a three-headed, plump creature resembling a dragon and a chicken was staring at them from a distance, with long saliva flowing out of its mouth. The scorching scent emitted by these giant beasts turned the entire underground space into a giant sauna. What a big chicken! That's not a chicken, it's a foolish golden dragon. Wang Yu's expression immediately became serious. In the game, this thing is a post-game boss with incredibly powerful combat power. Pomelo wash. That's. Shoo, they're starting to move. Wang Yu interrupted Xiaohei and stared intently ahead. The three golden dragons were also closely watching them, although their bodies were bulky, their movements were very coordinated. They slowly approached, their huge bodies leaving a faint golden trajectory in the air. Do you want to escape? Xiaohei was a bit panicked when he saw such a huge beast for the first time. Do you think we can run with wings? Wang Yu looked at the three giant beasts. This thing looks really abstract. Similar to Xiaohei in terms of beauty. After thinking for a moment, he said to Xiaohei, I remember. This kind of creature is either killing or living. If you go dance in front of them and pretend to be courting, they will definitely be happy. Your charm should come in handy. So, Wang Yu. I will run away. Then. I will swear to hold on to the golden rooster to the death. Stop talking. Xiaohei gathered his courage and approached the foolish golden dragon without looking back, performing a clumsy dance. This seemingly teasing gesture caught the attention of three golden dragons. They sniffed at Xiaohei and playfully waved their huge wings, splashing saliva and stars from their mouths, splashing several meters of water on the ground. Wang Yu seized the opportunity and turned his head to run. Once Jin Long finishes dealing with Xiaohei and comes towards him, within 3 seconds, he will become a roasted whole person. But now, the golden dragons are circling around Xiaohei, dancing their wings in place, seemingly not paying attention to themselves. Thanks to Xiaohei, he was able to run smoothly towards the escape exit. After finally running to the exit, I found that the pitch-black stone slabs that covered the sky and sun were blocking the exit without bias. Turn the direction and change the exit, only to find that all exits are like this. Wang Yu frowned slightly and reached out to touch the slate. Unbelievably smooth, I took out the manuscript and knocked hard, leaving no trace. It was simply a product of foreign technology. Then, he looked around and sighed with a smile, if you want to block it completely. Who do you look down on? I can't dig this slate, can't I dig a path around it? Holding the manuscript in both hands, I knocked open the nearby mud and prepared to excavate. Suddenly, a deafening explosion shattered the tranquility and instantly shrouded the entire area in turmoil. The shock wave spreads at an astonishing speed and has nowhere to escape. With a stumble, Wang Yu lost his balance and leaned forward, his backpack and manuscript scattered on the ground. The air temperature dropped strangely and suddenly, as if he had just walked out of the sauna and then fell into the freezer with his backhand. Immediately, a cold hand grabbed the back of his neck and lifted him up. The rough index finger pressed against Wang Yu's cheek, forcing him to turn his face in a different direction. What caught the eye was a face full of scars. Not emitting any breath or sound. When did this guy come? Surprisingly, there were burns on the man's body. This body is covered in shocking scars, probably swimming in magma when I was a child. Wang Yu looked down and saw the huge and shining wing bones on the man's hand, which were bleeding. If you're not mistaken, that's the most important part of the foolish golden dragon. Only by killing them can this bone be removed. Wang Yu's pupils contracted slightly, and his whole body instinctively feared the person in front of him. Foolish golden dragon, Was it delayed? The man didn't look at him, but rather at the emblem on his breastplate. After calming down, Wang Yu struggled and said, "Many. Thank you for rescuing me. I am Wang Yu, the captain of the 14th Exploration Team of the Resistance Army. Could you please let go, sir?" Oh. After hearing this, the man let go and Wang Yu fell upside down. Rebels. Then don't you know me yet? Sure enough. This person must be a senior member of the Resistance Army, a friendly army. Think quickly, who can do such a thing? Is it true that the Lord is the God of strength, brilliance? Not right. Is it the great scientist Daedalus? Not right. Let me think. Then you must be the god of nature, Silva. She is a woman. Wang Yu was sweating profusely, guessing the leader's name so many times without being able to guess it, which was somewhat reckless. That's Alpha. Not right. Beta. Is there anything else? Gamma. The man shook his head. After explaining all the high-ranking members of the Resistance Army without hesitation, Wang Yu still didn't say it right. Sorry, I can't figure out who you are. Is it gone? It's really gone. I've finished talking about everyone I know. Are you curious about my name? I hope you can be more lenient. I will remember your name in my heart. Wang Yu lowered his head and assumed a submissive posture. The man remained silent for a moment and slowly uttered 3 words. Alam. Wang Yu. What? Your intelligence is very useful, and I sincerely thank you. As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Yu's eyebrows had not even frowned before his eyes turned black and he lost consciousness. When he opened his eyes again, he found himself in the dungeon. The dungeon, eerie and dark, was seen as a cage for prisoners of war. What sounds good is a prisoner of war, but what doesn't sound good is being thrown into raising goo. Being exiled here, various resentful souls inside will help him slaughter living people in order to harvest their souls and strengthen themselves. The dungeon has 5 layers, with resistance forces, monsters, and animal corpses everywhere. Apart from death, it is also death. White bones are shining brightly, making one shudder with fear. In this world, people with obsession will turn into white ghosts when they die. If there is an extremely strong obsession, it will distort into a more powerful pink phantom soul. They constantly search for the book garden www.zhaozhuyuan.com to occupy the bodies of the deceased in groups, retrieve their weapons and armor, and make them return to the human world. Wang Yu put on the heavy armor of the corpse and hid in the first layer. With his strength, he wouldn't have been killed by an ordinary little skeleton. But everyone understands that this place has no way to life and no way to death. Many people commit suicide in despair. The remaining people were devoured alive by terrifying skeletons. If there is no action, one will eventually be consumed to death here, and the remaining body will be occupied by illusions or ghosts, becoming a living dead person wandering in the dungeon. The system. Wang Yu stepped on a skull, rubbed his feet hard, and then gritted his teeth, crushing the skull. Did you really let me cross this continent just to add another piece of trash? Help. At +Yuan. Very sorry. The system has been partially restarted successfully, absorbed enough Yin Qi, confirmed location. Dungeon, unlocked special task, long-term mission. Kill the tyrant Alam, difficulty. Impossible, final reward, comma. Special terrain task. Become the king of dungeons, difficulty. SS, final reward. Normal, Yuan, time at Yuan. Novice task. Collect 15 pieces of wood, limited to 1 hour, difficulty. Impossible, reward. Activate backpack system, novice task 2. Open backpack once, difficulty. Impossible, reward. Unlock manufacturing system, please select the task to be executed within 5 minutes. Failure to do so will result in immediate death. Immediately die after task failure, 5.00, 4.59. Did you see the body in Chapter 2? Take advantage of the heat. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. 3.48, 3.47. Wang Yu is studying the displayed task. Killing Alam is simply a pipe dream. Even if Alam did not personally participate in the war, his army was still capable of destroying the resistance and even the entire continent. Giant creatures like the foolish golden dragon were just mass-produced failures of the Alam army. His subordinates are the real monsters. Half-robots, black magic witches, python-swallowing gods, dragons guarding the world picking out anyone may destroy the entire continent. I won't be able to take on this task even if I die. I don't know now, and I won't be able to take it in the future. Let's talk about beginner tasks. Seemingly simple, but in reality, there is a hidden mystery. There are only blue-purple stone bricks and corpses inside the dungeon, no trees, and no wooden furniture. It is indeed impossible to obtain 15 pieces of wood within an hour. Opening the backpack is even more absurd. You can only choose the second option, become the king of dungeons. SS level, it's always easier than impossible. Wang Yu's idea is to select a task. Selected special terrain task. Become the king of dungeons. Please choose one of the following 3 ghosts as the beginning of your great journey. In front of him, 3 hazy white ghosts floated out of the ground and stayed in front of Wang Yu. The one in the middle is very special, with a hint of black in the white. It looks irregular and somewhat abstract. Are you Xiaohe? Wang Yu subconsciously said. The ghost in the middle nodded wildly. I knew you were still alive. He pointed to Little Black's ghost and said, anyway, it's up to you. Selected ghost. Ghosts can possess undead corpses that have not been taken over. Please conquer the combination of grievances at all levels and become the king of dungeons. Progress 0 out of 5. Each time you eliminate a resentment combo, you will receive advanced rewards, a combination of resentment and resentment. 5. Wang Yu has played games and he probably knows what the lowest level of resentment is. Soul-devouring flower. More powerful than the foolish golden dragon. With his current strength, it is naturally out of reach. But what do the other 4 combinations of grievances refer to? This is something that is neither mentioned nor exists in the game. Anyway, surviving now is the key. He doesn't have room for improvement himself. Hope can only be placed on the ghost, which is Little Black. As long as he can complete this task and leave the dungeon, he can complete the beginner task. After that, you can unlock various functions in the game and gain the ability to strengthen yourself. The journey of this world can be considered as getting back on track. After having a goal, Wang Yu began to explore on the first floor, seemingly searching for something. Not long after, he stopped his steps. Xiaohe, did you see the body lying on the ground in front of you? The ghost behind Wang Yu revealed its head and nodded. I see that his flesh is plump, his muscles are obvious, and his color is bright. He shouldn't have died for too long. You should take advantage of the heat to possess him. Little Black floated in place, motionless, his soul constantly changing, as if he wanted to speak. What's wrong? If you want to speak, you have to go first. Xiaohe could only crawl into the body, and then the body stood up very stiff. On the armor of the corpse, there is a symbol of 2 swords crossing. It indicates that he was once an ordinary member of the Resistance's close combat unit, and in terms of combat effectiveness, he is definitely stronger than ordinary skeletons and exploration teams. One team, this body is so difficult to control. Little Black spoke with the help of his body's mouth. We all started out like this. Get used to habits, overcome them. No, it's because my level is not enough. What level? As soon as the words fell, a prompt box popped up in front of Wang Yu. Ghost LV1, 0/100, Body LV3, Level Mismatch, please find a suitable body. Control performance decreases by 40%, experience increases by 200% when controlling this body to kill enemies. According to the subtitles, although the handling performance has decreased, the experience multiplier has increased. Upon careful consideration, this is a good thing. Xiao Hei, can you see the levels of these bodies? Can. So, you go find the highest level body nearby and attach yourself. But don't do it, go ahead and do it. Xiao Hei searched and stopped in front of a white bone. Wang team, this is level 5. Wang Yu leaned forward and looked at the corpse. The skeleton is large and has limb structures similar to humans, but the skull is long and narrow with large eye sockets, clearly not human. There is no armor on the body, only a moldy torn garment covering it. It's probably a monster from somewhere. Xiao Hei, possessed. Xiao Hei drifted out of the warrior's body and possessed himself into the corpse. Ghost LV1, 0/100, Body LV5, Level Mismatch, please find a suitable body. Control performance decreases by 80%, experience increases by 400% when controlling this body to kill enemies. Xiao Hei struggled to crawl and struggled several times before sitting up and starting to howl. Ahem. This shout, this skeleton. It turned out to be a werewolf. Wang Yu smiled and pulled out his sword from his waist. I'll go and cripple the skull in front of me later. You come grab the head and see if you can gain experience. Ahem. Ahem. Little Black exclaimed in confusion. I made him motionless, you come and make the final blow, do you understand? Ow, very good. He slowly walked towards the skeleton in front, raised his magic light sword, and his body tightened like a bent bow. Then, as if releasing a tense spring, he jumped up half a meter and headed towards the skeleton. The purple arc light flashed by, the skeleton reacted and attempted to block Wang Yu's attack. Bang! However, the hard wrist bone cannot resist this force. A pale arm suddenly detached from the main body, accompanied by a dull sound of rupture, crashing towards the ground. Immediately after, he used his strength to change the direction of his strength and counterattacked. The sword light flickered from above, and the other white bone claw broke and fell to the ground, making a crisp sound. When the skeleton was completely bewildered, he raised his magic light sword and stabbed it into the hollow chest of the skeleton, deeply embedding it and nailing it to the wall. Xiao Hei, take your head off. Wang Yu didn't even take a breath before completing such a smooth and flowing movement. On the other hand, Xiao Hei stumbled towards this side step by step. It's like a baby learning to walk, falling down in just 2 or 3 steps, getting up, and falling again after falling 5 or 6 times. I vaguely saw that the crack spreading on the skull became more and more obvious. Forget it, if you keep walking like this, you'll break your head. Wang Yu stepped forward and lifted Xiao Hei to the front of the skull. Crush it, I'll support you. The werewolf, even if its body rots and only its skeleton remains, weighs at least 200 kilograms. Fortunately, during the initial training, I didn't touch the fish and developed a body full of tendons and flesh. Otherwise, I would have been crushed by werewolf Little Black now. Xiao Hei shook his feet and stepped on the skull. Bang! The werewolf's physical strength is extremely strong. With one kick from zhaoshuyuan.com, he crushed the entire skull and the floor behind him. For a moment, brick powder flew all over the sky. Kill Body LV1, Experience plus 40, Ghost LV1, 40/100, this method is indeed feasible. Well done, Xiao Hei. Ahem, Little Black let out a satisfied growl. Dang! 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 A crisp tapping sound came from afar. Looking in the direction of the sound, 2 skeletons walked slowly, holding rusty swords and continuously striking the ground. The first layer is not lacking in these weak skeletons, which can almost be said to be seen everywhere. Wang Yu raised his magic light sword and imitated the previous operation to string the two skeletons together and nail them to the wall. Then Xiao He slapped the two skulls together. Kill body LV1, kill body LV1, experience plus 80, ghost level up. Xiao He's body shimmered with a brilliant light, and under the light, the cracks in the original bones seemed to disappear, emitting the sound of a cloth spirit. The upgraded sound effects are quite affordable. Ghost LV2, 20/200, obtaining skill. Deterrence LV1, skill description. After launching Deterrence, enemies at LV1 and lower levels will be restrained for action. Level mismatch, please find a suitable body. Control performance decreases by 60%, experience increases by 300% when controlling this body to kill enemies. Xiaohe, what does upgrading feel like? Ahem 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 ahem. Dot. When I didn't ask. Chapter 3. Deterrence. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, AO Wu. Xiao He let out a puzzled cry. He was very fond of it before his death, which is in line with the recent trend of abstraction. Now it's even more interesting. But the focus is not here. A foul odor is wafting in the wind. The dungeon environment is damp and cold. Generally speaking, the taste is suppressed. The obvious smell is probably due to the sound just now attracting the decaying skeletons nearby. Wang Yu held his sword tightly and hid behind the wall to observe. The sound of scattered footsteps kept coming and going. Sneak your head out and take a closer look. There are ordinary skeletons, rebel skeletons, skeletons holding torches, and skeletons holding skulls, all of which come in a dazzling variety. There are even animals, and the little skeleton with 4 legs on the ground is probably a rabbit. They stumbled towards this side. After a rough assessment, Wang Yu did not find a very powerful skeleton, so he threw the rotten meat on his sword and put on an attacking posture. A mere experience package. Oh. Oh. What? My eardrums are about to burst. Wang Yulio turned his head in surprise and looked at Xiao He. What are you shouting so loudly for? I saw Xiao He with a big mouth, like a loudspeaker, continuously roaring, and the sound instantly spread throughout most of the dungeon. Launch Deterrence LV1, LV1 level and below physical actions have been restricted, the roar ended, and most of the skeletons, including the rabbit skeleton, squatted down and shook while holding their heads. The skeleton, which did not squat down, appeared to have taken a few cautious steps back, looked around, and then disappeared into the darkness. However, the tremendous movement awakened something in the first layer. Dong! 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 The sound of very heavy footsteps came from a distance, making such a loud noise even when walking, weighing at least several tons. The odor also became more intense, pungent, and even nauseating. You can smell such an unpleasant odor at this distance. Without wearing a gas mask, one may not be able to approach that big guy. Wang Yu looked at Xiao He with a very standard smile. I thank you. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have known there was such a big guy on the first floor. Ahem. Although Xiao He's face was devoid of flesh and blood, the pride on his face was still evident. Wang Yu. According to the analysis of footsteps, everyone is still some distance away from here. Before that, harvesting these accused individuals was the most cost-effective option. Wang Yu quickly pushed Xiao He in front of the rabbit skeleton and gave an order. Step on it. Bang! The rabbit skeleton was hit by dimension reduction on the spot and went to anime. Eliminate body LV0, experience plus 0, no, you also killed me. Wang Yu. Next are ordinary skeletons, which squat at a height just right for stepping on. Due to the increase in level, Xiao He's handling has also improved compared to before. Although he still needs assistance, his efficiency is still higher. The Deterrence skill is quite powerful. Even if the skeleton next to it is crushed, the skeleton next to it still holds its head and remains motionless. 3 times, 5 times, and 2 times, it crushed all the skeletons kneeling with their heads in their arms. As the saying goes, those who surrender will not be killed. But these guys can't be considered in this category. They're already dead, not killing. Eliminate body LV1x6, experience plus 180, ghost level up. Eliminate body LV1x3, experience plus 60, ghost LV3, 60/500, deterrence LV1 deterrence LV2. The range of deterrence increases to LV2 and below, level mismatch, please find a suitable body. Control performance decreases by 40%, experience increases by 200% when controlling this body to kill enemies, bling bling. The little black body once again emitted a bright light, and the body, which originally had only white bones, surprisingly grew some flesh and blood, gradually taking on the appearance of a werewolf. "Follow me, don't make too much noise," Wang Yu whispered to Xiao He. Perhaps due to the influence of the newly launched Deterrence, several ordinary skeletons can be seen kneeling with their heads clasped, trembling from a distance. But the top priority is to avoid that big guy. Keep these skeletons for later trampling. They squatted low all the way, passed through a low tunnel, and arrived at a rather secluded small room. This small room was discovered by Wang Yu shortly after waking up. Clearing the skeletons inside makes it a decent hiding place. This should have been a prison. I don't know why it was abandoned. Although the equipment inside is basically corrupt and the environment is still humid, there is a bed, candles, and even a very small window for observing the situation. Wang Yu placed his index finger in front of his lips to signal Little Black's silence. In the distance, the heavy footsteps gradually grew louder, and even the floor began to vibrate with the rhythm of the footsteps. The incredibly strong smell of decay almost suffocated people. Wang Yu held his breath and took a single breath, afraid that he might vomit directly. Dong! Dong! Fortunately, after a period of time, the sound of footsteps gradually faded away and the odor faded. After almost no smell, Wang Yu observed the outside situation through a small window. Everything outside is normal, except for the body. There are only bones and nothing moving outside. It is estimated that the big guy was scared away. The two of them came out of the small room and gently closed the door. Through the tunnel, returned to the outside again. There are 1/2 meter long footprints on the ground. I'm afraid that guy is the first level of resentment and the first target to be attacked. Now encountering that thing, at least we'll have to fight hard and maybe even die on the spot. At least, you have to use a whole anti-odor thing before you can beat it. Without my orders in the future, no intimidation or shouting is allowed. Wang Yuliu said with a hint of anger. Xiao Hei's ears drooped, like a child making mistakes. Next, exploring the first layer should be more cautious. Zhaozuiyuan.com I swaggered like before and didn't even know how to write when encountering other terrifying things. Xiao Hei is currently at level 3, losing 40% of his operational performance. He can walk normally and has a slight lack of responsiveness, making him prone to stumbling on raised steps. By upgrading to 2 more levels, you will probably be able to unleash all the performance of your body. But as the level difference between ghosts and bodies narrows, the experience multiplier gradually decreases, and the difficulty of upgrading increases. The best strategy is to cross levels and cultivate ghosts first. Xiao Hei, look for any more advanced corpses and get possessed inside. Xiao Hei didn't scream, but silently checked the physical level on the ground. Previously, some skeletons kneeling with their heads hugged were turned into ashes under huge footprints, while others ran without a trace. It seems that Deterrence has a time limit. After walking for a short distance, Xiao Hei suddenly roared towards the darkness ahead of Wang Yu. In the dim light, I vaguely saw a skeleton dressed in light armor slowly approaching under the cover of darkness. Oh, I saw it, this little guy is quite clever. Wang Yu drew his sword and pointed it at the skeleton. Tisk. The skull smashed with a sound, and without any warning, it erupted, wielding a short sword and charging towards Wang Yu. Wang Yu reacted quickly and used his sword to block it, but he clearly underestimated the power of the skeleton and was knocked back several meters. Support your body with a sword, stabilize your posture, and when you look up again, the skull has already hidden into the darkness. At the moment of the confrontation, Wang Yu saw the badge on the light armor clearly. A horse, that is the symbol of the rebel reconnaissance force. Half a star indicates that this bone was once the vice-captain of the team, one level lower than oneself in terms of level. That, over level 5. Xiao He nodded. Chapter 4. Taboos of Talking in a Fight. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, that's just right. Killing this thing should be quite experienced. Wang Yu bowed slightly, holding his sword in both hands, covering half of his face and tightening his muscles. This defensive posture was a skill he learned from the close combat units of the resistance army. After crossing over, he has been receiving brutal training from close combat troops, and relying on his talent in sports, he has excelled in completing all the training. Finally, he became the captain of the exploration team. His strength is superior to that of an ordinary exploration team captain, and there is no need to panic when facing the deputy captain of a regional investigation team. Observing carefully before him, he searched for the moment to launch an attack. In an instant, the reflection of the short sword suddenly appeared in the darkness. What's waiting for is this moment. Seizing the opportunity, Wang Yu took a deep breath of air and then held his breath, causing his calf muscles to burst out, step up and bring the distance closer. Without hesitation, the purple sword light flashed through the air like lightning, accurately cutting off the skeleton holding the short sword. The skull was neatly cut into 2 pieces, and the 2 broken pieces fell to the ground, with bones scattered all over the ground. Hey, something's wrong. He suddenly froze. Is this skeleton a bit thinner than the one who initially attacked me? Wang Yu only felt a pain in his back, followed by heavy pressure from his shoulders. Turning his head, he saw a skeleton's claws holding a short sword, piercing straight at his head. He was startled and quickly dodged on his side, but the heavy pressure on his shoulders hindered his movement. The short sword comes into contact with the helmet, sparking sparks. Bang! A rapid airflow swept overhead. It's Xiao He. He made a timely move and sideways slapped the skull, flying more than 10 meters. Click it. The skull was directly smashed into the wall, and the skull exploded on the spot. Eliminate body LV2, experience plus 40, ghost LV3, 100/500, the living ghost gang. Unheard of. The voice came from the dark curtain. Continuing. 8 skeletons slowly walked out from all directions. They were all wearing the light armor of the rebel reconnaissance team, holding short swords in their hands, and their pale skeletons appeared somewhat eerie in the faint candlelight. The middle one is the skull of the deputy captain who initially attacked. Originally planning to engage in a group fight, no wonder this guy has such confidence. Ow! Xiao He bent down, showed his sharp claws, exploded his fur like a cat, and assumed a hunting posture. Wang Yu held his sword and stood next to Xiao He. He was not injured, and the heavy armor of the melee unit he obtained from licking his bag with tears saved his life. If there is only one vice-captain, it can naturally be dealt with. But with the addition of 7 investigative team members who know how to cooperate, that's another story. These skeletons, in order to hunt live humans, have specially eliminated the smell of corpse decay from their bodies, making it impossible to determine where the next attack will come from based on the smell. There is a way to turn this situation around. Xiao He. Wang Yu covered his ears. Woo! Xiao He let out a soft growl, indicating that he was listening. Deterrence. Xiao He took a deep breath and activated his skill. Ah. Oh. Oh. Activate skill to deter LV2. LV2 and below physical actions have been restricted. The roar of a werewolf is like a flood bell, with sound waves rolling and shocking. The Skull Squad on the opposite side, except for the deputy captain, all trembled and knelt on the ground, holding their heads. Wang Yu chuckled when he saw this. A grand team, except for the leader, surprisingly no one surpassed LV2. That scream. It was indeed you who made it. The deputy captain's skeleton disappeared into the darkness and continued to speak. Do you know what good deeds you have done? You have awakened that monster. That thing will devour all living and dead creatures, even our ghosts cannot escape. Alright, stop hiding. There's a fight going on, what are you doing? Come out. Wang Yu looked impatient. He sat back to back with Xiao He, observing the surroundings. You will regret it. After speaking, the deputy captain's skeleton suddenly appeared, with a short sword in his hand flashing with a cold light. It rushed towards Wang Yu without hesitation, with a short sword pointing straight at his neck, intending to kill him with a single blow. But he clearly misjudged the reaction speed of the living person in front of him. Wang Yu's eyes lit up and he quickly dodged on his side. The short sword of the deputy captain's skull almost brushed against his neck, leaving a bloodstain. At the same time, Xiao He immediately turned around and swung his paw, fiercely grabbing the chest of the deputy captain's skull. Brush. However, the deputy captain's skeleton was not affected at all. With a light flash, he dodged Little Black's attack and swung his short sword again. The fierce sword energy forced the two to retreat in succession. In the fierce confrontation, Vice Captain Skull's attack speed became faster and crazier, while Wang Yu became more adept at blocking. Only Xiao He is being beaten. There were more and more scars on Xiao He's body, and then he tripped over the uneven ground, stumbled, and threw his jawbone out. This fall caught the attention of the deputy captain's skull. Hey, it's easy to fall. Wang Yu sneered when he saw his opponent being distracted, then clenched his magic sword and thrust forward with all his might. A sword pierced through the shoulder blades of the deputy captain's skull, and in pursuit of victory, he cut off his hands with a swift slash. The deputy captain's skeleton let out a scream, turned around and prepared to escape. He was kicked hard by Wang Yu towards the corner of the wall, rolled around and collided with the wall, making a muffled sound. Without giving him a chance to catch his breath, he immediately pressed his sword against the chest armor of the deputy captain's skull, exerted force to pierce it, and nailed it to the wall. You. Deputy Captain Skull looked shocked. This is clearly not a level that an ordinary member of a close combat unit can reach. I thought it was a soft persimmon, but ended up kicking a big iron plate. Xiao He, come here. Xiao He vigorously picked up his jawbone and walked straight over. Wait, are you from the Resistance Army? I'm also from the Resistance Army. I was born from the same roots, so why bother with each other? So you attacked me first, didn't you have long eyes? Wang Yu raised an eyebrow and asked disdainfully. I really have no eyes, my eyes have been rotten and haven't fallen off long ago. The deputy captain's skeleton pointed to his eye socket. Do you think you're very humorous? Wang Yu looked at Xiao He and spoke with a hint of command, I've stepped on everything kneeling on the ground. Xiao He obeys and does as he pleases. Bang! X7 inch, eliminate body LV2 X7, experience plus 280, ghost LV3, 380/500, due to the launch of Deterrence, that big guy once again noticed this side. In the distance, the sound of huge footsteps rang out again. Wang Yu glanced at the empty corridor and said, time is running out. I'll ask you an answer, don't answer randomly, and don't refuse to answer. Ask. Deputy Captain Skull relaxed and gave up struggling. Why do you speak? After a moment of silence, the Deputy Captain Skull explained, not all ghosts have retained memories of their own language. Most ghost memories are fragmented, leaving only the deepest obsession that gave birth to them, which is revenge. And my memory happens to retain a part of the language, that's all. Sigh. Memories are clearly preserved, but they are unwilling to negotiate an attack when they come up. This is really great. Let me kill without any pressure. Wang Yu snorted coldly and continued to ask, that monster, please explain it in detail. After pondering for a moment, the deputy captain approached Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com before speaking up. That was an ogre who was already in a dormant state, but was awakened by your ghost. Ogres. Is it the little boss in the Satan army? Wang Yu supported his chin, pondered for a moment, then lifted his head and said, compared to you, how strong is that guy? He can crush me into ashes. I see. He reached out and grabbed the ribs of the deputy captain's skull, gently pulling them apart. Pain. What are you doing? You have osteoporosis, isn't it easy to crush you into ashes? You. Deputy Captain Skull remained speechless, and finally a sentence popped out of his mouth, with such arrogance, one day the ship will capsize. Wang Yu casually threw his ribs onto the ground and stomped on them, saying, do you have anything else to say? The deputy captain, Skull, lowered his head as if he had accepted his fate and stopped speaking. Xiao He. Bang. Xiao He stepped forward and sent the deputy captain's skeleton to the west with a straight palm. Eliminate body LV6, experience plus 200, ghost level up. Ghost LV4, 80/1000, deterrence LV2 deterrence LV3. Click to view the effect, level mismatch, please find a suitable body. Control performance decreases by 20%, experience increases by 100% when controlling this body to kill enemies. After the dazzling light and cheap sound effects, Little Black's flesh and blood grew all over his body, but he still didn't have the outer skin. It's still one level behind. Let's go, the ogre is over there, let's go in the opposite direction. They walked towards the depths of the first layer. Chapter 5. Water Candles. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The two of them avoided the ogre, but collided with a more eerie scene. In front of me, under the dim blue candlelight, a group of skeletons were gathering by the wall, their thin fingers tightly grasping the wall as if searching for some support. They seem to have not been intimidated. Their skeletons appear particularly eerie in the dim light, and every sound of grabbing the wall makes people shudder. That's a water candle. How did I forget that there was still this thing in the dungeon? Water candles are a special type of candle. It emits a faint and mysterious light, quietly attracting those creatures wandering in the darkness. Under the guidance of this light, the monsters fell into confusion, as if controlled by it, walking step by step towards the location of the water candle. Even when Wang Yu saw the water candle, he felt an inexplicable palpitations in his heart. A strange feeling arises from the bottom of my heart. Inexplicably, I really want to grab the flame of that candle with my hands, purify my soul with that blue flame, and burn my body with the dripping hot oil. My heartbeat is gradually accelerating, giving me a feeling of rewarding myself. Detected abnormal mental state of the host, protection mode enabled, abnormal status cleared, protection mode will continue to be activated. Wang Yu regained consciousness from his daze, his brow furrowed tightly, and his heart felt unhappy. Damn it, just as I was feeling a little better, you pressed it down for me. Xiao He was no longer by his side. He joined the group of skeletons and stared blankly at the water candle. It seems that even the ghosts of LV4 will be attracted by water candles. Pop. Without saying a word, Wang Yu went up and gave Xiao He a big comparison. You kid, I didn't even enjoy yourself here, did I? Ahem. Xiao He let out a mournful roar and looked pitifully at Wang Yu. Are you clear-headed? Wu, go and kill all those skeletons. Xiao He nodded, turned around, bent down, and showed his sharp claws. He charged straight towards the group of skeletons. The skeletons grabbing the wall were shattered before they could react. Nowadays, with only a 20% operational performance limit, Xiaohe can now achieve agile and smooth movements without any dragging or dragging. From 40% to 20%, the difference is surprisingly so obvious. This is probably the difference between passing and good. There is no need for Wang Yu to personally take action. Eliminate body LV1, eliminate body LV2, eliminate body LV2, eliminate body LV3, eliminate body LV0, eliminate a large number of bodies, in the process of empirical calculation, experience plus 720, ghost LV4, 800/1000, level mismatch, please find a suitable body. Control performance decreases by 20%, experience increases by 100% when controlling this body to kill enemies. Crossing a broken white bone on the ground, Wang Yu stood in front of the water candle. He held the candlestick in his hand and took off the water candle. Due to the activation of protection mode, Wang Yu now looks at the water candle and feels like he is looking at an ordinary candle with a slightly dim color, without being moved at all. But Xiaohe stared at the water candle in a daze after so long. Pop Wang Yu slapped again when he went up. Wu Xiaohe has become smarter now. He no longer looks at water candles and consciously starts looking for high-level bones around him. Wang Yu protected the wax candle in front of his chest, blocking the mesmerizing candlelight with his body, and continued walking deeper. As we delve deeper, there are more and more alien white bones, and there are noticeably more corpses wearing formal armor. Strangely, there are no active skeletons here. There are no high-level corpses either. Various moldy and rusty weapons were scattered on the ground, as if there had been a great war before. Slowly, rows of old books gradually appeared in front of the line of sight, covered in dust and smelling of mold. There are some empty bottles scattered next to them, broken and broken. Some bottles contain residual red liquid, while others have residual blue liquid. This is probably a weak healing potion and a weak magic potion. I smelled it up close and there was a faint fragrance. Unfortunately, if the bottle is not broken, it can still be used as a drink to quench thirst. Since being thrown into the dungeon, Wang Yu has not had a serious meal yet. Fortunately, the rebels themselves often eat tree bark and have developed a resilient stomach, which is very easy to feed. As for Xiaohe, he doesn't need to eat at all, and the flesh and blood on his body have become increasingly fresh with evolution. It can be used as backup food. Wang Yu placed the water candle on the ground, took off his helmet to block the candlelight, and then took down a book, gently brushing away the accumulated dust on the cover. Opening the page, his pupils contracted slightly. The content in the book is extremely peculiar because he cannot understand it. Inside is nothing but ghost symbols. Ahem. Xiaohe came up to join the fun, glanced a few times, and then started dancing. Ahem. Ahem. Do you understand? Ahem. Xiaohe nodded hard, ahem ahem. Wang Yu was speechless and pointed to the skeleton next to him. Go inside and talk, he said. Xiaohe left the werewolf's body and entered the ordinary skeleton. At the moment of departure, the flesh and blood on the werewolf turned into black smoke and dissipated, transforming into a skeleton that was heavily smashed onto the ground. Wang Yu touched his chin and said, I'm afraid this thing won't be very edible. Ghost LV4, 800/1000, body LV2, level 2 high, handling performance increased by 40%, experience reduced by 200% when controlling this body to kill enemies. The skeleton, which was originally only left with a skeleton, was instantly wrapped in flesh and blood, and the skin and hair quickly grew. Xiaohe flipped backwards and jumped up. One team, this body is very light. Xiaohe picked up the rusty sword on the ground and waved it with a brush. It's so cool. Can you first talk about what is discussed in this book? Let me take a look again. Xiaohe threw his sword and jumped in front of Wang Yu. This is Old Satanic, it seems like a diary. Do you know Old Satanic? My mother said that I am stubborn and can only stand out through talent, so I work hard and learn everything. And then you made a name for yourself. Then the country was destroyed. Okay, why don't you talk about what's written in the book at jiaozhuyuan.com? Well, the content of this page is like this. February 3rd. The great Satan, our legion is completely finished, and the madman Alam is unstoppable. Fortunately, we still have partners. I want to escape from this gloomy and disgusting prison. February 11th. This place is more eerie than I imagined. Undead, why do the dead still come back to life? I need to study how to control these wandering undead, and I must seek revenge. February 25th. Hunger almost made me lose consciousness, and when I woke up, my companions were already littered with corpses. I understand that's what I did. I lost control. February 28th. The ogre is a very high-level body, my powerful assistant, and also a very good food. I ate it. After his death, I witnessed countless white substances surging into his body, and those white substances were definitely the key to causing the undead. I want to manipulate them. March 3rd. I want to kill Alam. March 4th. I want to kill Alam. March 5th. I want to kill Alam. March 6th. Stop, it's too boring. You interrupted Xiao He and turned the page. I want to see the ending directly. Xiao He looked at the last sentence on the last page and was momentarily stunned. If anyone can understand what I'm writing, whether living or dead, please come to the abandoned archives to help me. I already know the way to kill Alam. Is this person a bit confused? Yu scratched his head. Chapter 6. All Werewolfs. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, abandoned archive room. Yu is puzzled and handed the book to Xiao He. You flip through and see if there are any notes indicating where this place is. Obey me. Taking advantage of Xiao He's reading time, Yu wandered around, searching for anything useful on the bookshelf. For example, a complete therapeutic potion. The injuries suffered in the previous battle with the Deputy Captain's skull still ache faintly. In this humid environment, wounds are prone to inflammation, which can cause other diseases. Unfortunately, the fierce battle that occurred here seems to have been just for the precious potion. The potion either ruptures or disappears without a trace. All books have exactly the same content, even the handwriting. It seems to have been deliberately left here for future visitors to see. With the Wang team, take a look at this section. Xiao He greeted Yu. April 15th. I want to kill Alam. I have arrived at the deepest part of this prison, where there is an open area that seems to be an archive room. There are corpses everywhere, and white and pink substances are frantically plundering them. I feel suppressed, and those twisted emotions are constantly affecting me. This place has been completely abandoned, but there are still some instruments. I can use them. I want to use these mysterious substances to create monsters beyond the gods. I will definitely kill Alam. Yu couldn't help but sigh. What exactly did Alam do? Surprisingly, he was able to achieve such unity and resistance from everyone. He was lost in thought. Memories come to mind. That was what the rebel magician, who had gone crazy before, said before being executed. General meaning. No matter what kind of thing it is, what can kill Alam is a good thing. That group of magicians is certainly not a good thing. They completely trampled on human life and used human life to create monsters mixed with flesh and blood. After the monster rampaged, the resistance army was also affected and impacted. But Yu really can't understand these behaviors. Alam, if I had known about the background story while playing games, I really can't empathize with it. Yu rubbed his nose wings. The lowest level of resentment is the soul-devouring flower. The owner of this diary probably wants to use the soul-eating ghost flower to eliminate Alam. Unfortunately. Although he didn't pay much attention to the background story, he still knows a little about the strength of the boss. The soul-swallowing flower is strong and powerful, but it cannot compare to the subordinates of Alam. Not to mention killing Alam. Unless there is a combination of grievances not mentioned in the game on the 5th layer. But this possibility is very unlikely. The owner of this diary is likely unable to kill Alam. Wang team, what's wrong? Xiao Hei's words pulled Wang Yu's thoughts back. It will take some time to reach the deepest point, Wang Yu patted Xiao Hei's shoulder. Stop pondering and continue upgrading. Wang team, can we get out of here? Xiao Hei seemed to shake his heart after reading his diary. Do you believe me? Letter. I definitely can't get out now. I knew you would say that. Xiao Hei stood up. What should we do next? Is there a higher level body nearby? No, Xiao Hei shook his head and sighed. The only LV6 higher than me was occupied by ghosts and couldn't be possessed. Give me a palm and it shattered. Can shattered skeletons be possessed? Wang Yu pursued. Xiao Hei continued to shake his head. Then go back to the werewolf's body. Obey me. The ghost withdrew and returned to the werewolf's body. The original white bones were instantly covered with fresh flesh and blood, growing rapidly, and soon took on the appearance of werewolves. Ghost LV4, 800/1000, body LV5, level mismatch, please find a suitable body. Control performance decreases by 20%, experience increases by 100% when controlling this body to kill enemies, ahem. Well, come with me. Wang Yu seemed to understand the meaning of Xiao Hei. He picked up the water candle and continued walking forward. The ceiling occasionally drips water. One person, one wolf, arrived at a relatively spacious place. Wang Yu looked around and nodded in satisfaction. This is just right here. There are channels everywhere, making it easy to run and attract monsters. Wang Yu solemnly placed the water candle in the center position, then drew out his sharp sword and sat down calmly. Just brush monsters here. As soon as the skeleton comes, you'll start killing, and when you encounter someone with a higher level than you, let out a roar. Ah, Xiao Hei showed off his biceps. Although the range illuminated by the faint blue candle is limited, it has a mysterious attraction that can pull distant enemy monsters towards it. Quickly, a large number of skeletons surged out of the darkness. They are like zombies, with empty eyes revealing a longing for water candles. Xiao Hei's eyes trembled, and in an instant, his bones clattered, his claws extended, and he danced his arms around the exit, cutting off all the skeletons. For a moment, the sound of bones falling was everywhere. Wang Yu sat calmly in the middle, with no skeleton approaching him. He opened the book expressionlessly and slowly flicked the paper. He sat in the center of the battlefield, motionless like a mountain, with roaring sounds, bone-shattering sounds, and steel collisions echoing one after another. The subtitles in front of me keep popping up. Eliminate body LV1, eliminate body LV1, eliminate body LV1, eliminate body LV2, eliminate a large number of bodies, upgrade experience has been reached, priority upgrade, experience plus 200, ghost level up. Ghost LV5, 0/2000, level matched. Normal body performance will be utilized, Deterrent LV3 LV4, increased mental resistance, immune to water candles, ghosts will receive random rewards for every 5 levels they level up, reward. One ghost, will take effect when out of combat, bling bling. Xiao Hei is still slaughtering skeletons. His body emitted a brilliant light and his skin gradually grew out, covering his body. Every inch of hair stood upright like a steel needle, shining with a sharp light. The speed of claws cutting through the skeleton is getting faster and faster, overwhelming. Under his attack, the skeletons shattered and scattered all over the ground. Werewolf, it's complete. Xiao Hei kept charging towards the skeletons for a moment. This caused the subtitles in front of Wang Yu to flow like a waterfall, making him dizzy. Eliminate body LV1, eliminate body LV2, eliminate body LV2, eliminate body LV2, eliminate a large number of bodies experience plus 560 experience plus 250 experience plus 470 experience plus 330. After a while, I finally calmed down. Ghost LV5, 1610/2000, is it over? Wang Yu closed his book and lifted his head, feeling refreshed all over. The ground was covered with broken bones, severed armor, broken swords, and a mountain of bones that almost blocked the passage. All from the hands of Xiao He. Ahem, ahem, ahem. Xiao He stood among the piles of bones, shouting happily. The destructive power of werewolves is indeed powerful. Undoubtedly, it is an enemy monster that only appears in difficult modes in the game. I still remember when I played Terraria, I was often abused by werewolves on a full moon night. Now that Xiao He stands by his side as a werewolf, it is truly amazing. Wang Yu was preparing to approach Xiao He, but suddenly stopped in his tracks. 3 ghosts appeared before my eyes. Please choose a ghost as an aid to your great journey. Chapter 7. Platinum Ghost. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, 3 ghosts floated quietly in the mid-air. They each have their own characteristics. A white one with a hint of yellow inside. A white one with purple inside. The remaining one is even more extraordinary, revealing a platinum-like glow in its pure white, shining with an undeniable aura. Ao Wu. Xiao He also caught a glimpse of the wandering ghosts in mid-air, jumping up from 10 meters away and looking at the 3 ghosts next to Wang Yu. Wang Yu was not in a hurry to make a choice, but took off his helmet to block the light of the water candle. Ahem, Xiao He. Wang Yu looked at Xiao He with shiny hair and pondered, this time you come to choose, this ghost will be your subordinate. Owl. As instructed. Xiao He's face was full of joy, wandering in front of the 3 ghosts for a while, then pointing his fingers towards the white and yellow ghosts. Do you want to choose this? Ahem. Yes. Wang Yu furrowed his brow slightly and closely observed the ghost. I respect your choice, but as law-abiding citizens, we cannot touch any yellow gambling or drugs. This white with a hint of yellow symbolizes bad behavior. The pale yellow ghost trembled all over. Ao Wu. If you must choose, I will still respect your choice, Wang Yu said earnestly. Little Black's ears drooped, and he pondered for a moment before pointing his fingers towards the white and purple soul. Ahem, ahem. That's it. The purple ghost, upon hearing this, held its head and chest high, exuding an imposing aura. Wang Yu frowned again and said, I respect your choice, but purple represents evil energy and is not very auspicious. If you must choose, I will still respect your choice. The purple ghost gradually withered. The smile on Xiao He's face gradually converged. The smile on Wang Yu's face gradually bloomed. Xiao He pointed to the remaining ghosts and said, Ahem. Ahem, ahem. Then I'll choose this one. I respect your choice, let's choose this one. Xiao He. Selected ghost. Ghosts can possess undead corpses that have not been taken over. Please conquer the combination of grievances at all levels and become the king of dungeons. Progress. 0/5. Unlike other ghosts, the platinum ghost is very silent, and after being selected, there is no expression, as if in a daze. Perhaps it is because there are no skeletons nearby that can be possessed. Xiao He, go find the skeleton that can only be possessed. By the way, pick someone's bones so it's easier to speak. Ahem. Xiao He's feet exerted force and rushed out in an instant, searching for a moment, then lifted a skeleton back and placed it next to the platinum ghost. Possession. Wang Yu issued an order to the ghost. The ghost remained unmoved. Could you please accompany me inside? Wang Yu changed his polite expression. The ghost remained in place, still unshakable. After tossing and turning for a while, the ghost remained motionless. Glancing at Xiao Hei's skeptical gaze, Wang Yu's face immediately darkened. As a boss, what a loss of composure this situation is. Wang Yu quickly drew his magic light sword from his waist, with its sharp tip pointing straight at the ethereal platinum ghost. If you can't get in, I'll take you to the right place. Seeing the demonic sword emitting a gloomy purple light, the platinum ghost finally took action. Its soul underwent a drastic transformation, as if seeing a ghost, and in an instant it crawled into the bones on the ground. Ghost LV1, 0 out of 100, body LV1, level matching. It will unleash the normal performance of the body. Blood and flesh grew rapidly on the bones, and then a brand new creature stood up. Seeing the creature in front of him, Wang Yu frowned and said, I asked you to bring someone's bones. What did you bring? Did you bring this thing just because it looks like you? He closed his eyes and rubbed his nose. The more it looks like you, the lower the likelihood of it being human. Wang Yu looked at Xiao Hei. Little Black looked at the wall. In front of me is a humanoid creature that is only 3 feet tall. His green skin covered him like moss, covered with fine hair. His head appears slightly larger compared to his body, and his pointed ears stand upright on top of his head, trembling slightly, capturing the sounds around him. This body is a goblin. Goblin stared closely at the magic lightsaber and slowly approached. Watching the reckless behavior of suddenly approaching the captain, Little Black's eyes widened and he extended his claws. It's okay. Wang Yu tacitly agreed to Goblin's behavior and reached out to signal that Little Black did not need to deal with it. Actually, Wang Yu guessed who this ghost was from the beginning. In the game, there is a person with intricate connections to platinum. Goblin Craftsman, commonly known as Platinum Devourer. He does not feed on platinum, but rather consumes a very large amount of platinum coins. The highest denomination currency in Tyria. To fulfill his role, he can forge entries for weapons, and the better the quality of the weapon, the more coins it will consume. But forging is a bottomless pit. Because the hand speed is too fast, there are often tragic stories of fragmentation. Terrifying. Big. Legendary. Fragmentation. Or it could be that with only the money left from the last forging, one can make a bold move and strike a broken sword. Due to excessive currency consumption, the recasting mechanism of Goblin has been changed during the disaster, and the weapon entry will only be better than the previous one. Meanwhile, an NPC called Bandit was introduced. If you give the money to Goblin to recast the entry, he will steal the money from you and return it to you. In this way, a significant amount of money can be saved on recasting, but even so, recasting is still very expensive. I hope to continue these mechanisms in this world. Goblin stood in front of Wang Yu, almost pressing his nose against the blade. He sniffed lightly, as if trying to capture the unique aura emanating from the magic light sword. Then, with a slender and flexible tongue, he lightly licked the blade and made a subtle smashing sound, as if savoring the unusual taste. Zhaoshuyuan.com, do you have any taste? Wang Yu looked at Goblin and whispered. A smell of rotten meat. Can you be more professional? Goblin shook his ears and said, the content of this sword magic mineral is as high as 93%, undoubtedly a top quality product. But. Goblin turned his gaze to the notch on the sword, frowning slightly. The notch on the sword is a big problem, and there is a risk of breakage if you continue to use it. Can you repair it? Yes. I'll leave it to you. Wang Yu confidently handed the sword to Goblin. Goblin cautiously grabbed it with both hands, but the weight of the sword exceeded his expectations, instantly pressing him down and causing him to fall to the ground. It's so heavy. Goblin looked at the magic light sword that fell to the ground with a heart-wrenching expression. I don't have any tools in my hand, how can I help you fix them? Wang Yu easily picked up the magic light sword with one hand and withdrew it from the scabbard. What do you need for the tool you mentioned? There are all kinds of dead people in this dungeon, and naturally there will also be various tools. I want a hammer, a furnace, a reservoir, a clean workbench, and, on second thought, it's better to be in a vacuum environment. There are quite a few requirements. Well, it's impossible to come up with these things in a short period of time. At a loss, Wang Yu suddenly remembered that Xiao He had unlocked the skill of Deterrence after upgrading. If different ghosts unlock different skills, then thinking of this, Wang Yu became interested. Let's continue to hunt monsters, Goblin, follow me. My name is not Goblin, my name is Norte. Chapter 8. Group. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, Norte. Call you Little Green, it's easy, Wang Yu said. Okay, as long as you're willing to prepare tools for me and let me help you repair your weapons, you can call me anything. Just now, I had already used water candles to extinguish most of the skeleton. Nowadays, only fragments of bones are left on the ground nearby, adding a touch of even more desolation to the already gloomy place. To continue spawning monsters, we have to switch to another location. Wang Yu raised the water candle, and Little Black consciously led the way, while Little Green followed at the end. The three of them have crossed countless bones together and are preparing to leave here. Ahem. Xiao He suddenly stopped and let out a low roar, just like encountering the skeleton of the deputy captain at the time. Wang Yu glanced at him without stopping and continued walking forward. He saw the monster ahead, which was a dungeon slime greedily devouring shattered bones. Unlike before, this thing is a living creature, not a body. It feeds on bones and is already considered very luxurious among the slimes. In the game, this slime is not as powerful as a skeleton monster. Living creatures, I don't know how to calculate experience. Let's test how experience is allocated when 2 souls deal damage. Xiao He, let it take a breath. Xiao He nodded and rushed forward with a swift step. Its sharp claws traced a sharp trajectory in the air, leaving deep paw marks on Slim. With just one blow, the gum flowed out continuously from the wound, and the originally round body gradually shrank and shrunk, losing its combat effectiveness. Little Green, ending. Wang Yu took out the short sword he had left before and turned his head to look at Goblin. I saw Little Green drooling, staring blankly at the water candle. Pop. Without saying a word, Wang Yu slapped his consciousness back. Take it. He handed him the short sword. Xiao LV, feeling dizzy from the fan, instinctively took the short sword and looked bewildered. Ah. What do you want me to do? This short sword is in good condition, does it need to be repaired, but I don't have the tools. I want you to go kill that slime. How? How to kill? Little Green panicked when she heard the word, kill. Have you never killed anyone before? Obviously not. Little Green looked hesitant. Then I'll teach you. No, I'm a pacifist, otherwise I wouldn't have tied up Goblin and thrown it away. Little Green Hair then pushed his short sword to Wang Yu. I haven't even killed a rabbit. I'm dizzy and can't see bloody scenes. Don't worry, slime has no blood. Wang Yu pushed the short sword back. Xiaolu wanted to push the short sword back again, but he found that the power gap was too wide, and he couldn't push Wang Yu at all. I will prepare tools for you, and you also need to help me with the work. Hurry up, Wang Yu ordered Little Green. Little Green saw that he couldn't do anything, so he could only tremble and approached the dungeon slime under his supervision. Raise your sword and thrust it down with force. Xiao LV followed the instructions and tightly grasped the hilt of the sword, but her hands involuntarily trembled, unable to take action for a long time. I dare not. I dare. After Wang Yu finished speaking, he grabbed Little Green's wrist and pressed down hard. The short sword pierced into Slim's soft body, and immediately, glial substances spurted out from his wound. Immediately after, Slim's body completely lost its support and collapsed into an invisible pile of mud. Those glial substances slowly flow on the ground, like viscous liquids, gradually spreading out. At that moment, a golden key fell out of Slim's body. Won-Yu picked up the key and a barrage popped up in his eyes. Obtain Gold Key X1, the golden key can open the locked golden treasure chest in the dungeon, and one key can only open the treasure chest once. Eliminate Dungeon Slim, experience plus 20, Ghost LV1, 20/100, I gave a golden key, but unfortunately I haven't encountered the treasure chest yet. In terms of experience, Won-Yu understood through research and only provided ghost experience for the final blow. It's a bit stingy. Instead of upgrading Little Black from level 5 to level 10 and receiving a reward again, it is obviously much more convenient to elevate Little Green to level 5. The next focus should be on upgrading Little Green. Won-Yu looked at Little Green. Xiao LV looked calmly at the scattered slime. How do you feel? Won-Yu placed his hand on Little Green's shoulder. There's no special feeling, just inexplicably satisfying. That's right, I'll give you this short sword. Won-Yu withdrew his hand and turned to continue. The first time I killed someone, I was still very scared before I killed them. After killing them, I didn't feel much anymore. Don't worry, I won't do meaningless killing. Won-Yu changed his tone, but you have to understand that all the undead in this place should be killed. Little Green Dot nodded and clenched the short sword in his hand, with a hint of determination in his eyes. Is there anything else? I want to give it a try again. There's a lot of it, the quantity is large and the management is full. Won-Yu smiled. Ahem. Xiao Hei walked forward and smiled, hugging the two with his hands and licking their hair. Ahem, ahem, ahem. You've really become a dog. You have the same habits as a dog. Won-Yu pinched Xiao Hei's ear. Don't lick it, hurry up and leave. Find Xiao LV a more advanced body. Won-Yu understood in his heart. No matter how strong Little Black is, he cannot compete with ogres solely based on the physical abilities of werewolves. Even with oneself, it may not be easy to win the battle. Moreover, the huge odor on the ogre's body makes it difficult for people to approach him. We must continue to expand the team and then find a mask to prevent odor. Xiao Hei, find a level. Is there something up ahead? Little Green suddenly interrupted him. A bunch of numbers popped out of my eyes. LV7. LV5. What are those? Really fake. Xiao Hei, come and live. The three of them stared fixedly ahead. It's getting closer and closer, Little Green said nervously. Then, a skull slowly appeared. Unlike the image of the deputy captain's skeleton, this skeleton not only lacks the common signs of decay, but also wears a gorgeous robe and armor, and a ring shimmering with mysterious light on each of its 10 fingers. This unique outfit makes it stand out and majestic in the dark. Obviously, this is not an ordinary enemy, but an existence with a certain status and power. Is this all LV7? Yes, Little Green replied. The gorgeous skull carefully scrutinized the three of them before slowly speaking up. It seems that you have eliminated all the low-level creatures near here, haven't you? There is so much commotion, I'm afraid we don't know there are people here. I haven't seen a living person who can walk here for a long time. He paused for a moment, with a hint of doubt in his eyes. What makes me even more curious is why the three of you from different races chose to cooperate. It's really strange. Let me tie you up first before we talk. The magnificent skeleton took out a magic wand with a sea blue glow, which was carved with complex magical runes, appearing mysterious and majestic. At the same time, two burly werewolf skeletons slowly emerged from behind the magnificent skeletons, revealing their sharp claws and emitting deep roars. Werewolves are prioritized, followed by ordinary soldiers from the melee unit, and Goblin doesn't need to pay attention. Ahem. The werewolf skeletons roared. On the other side. Xiao He revealed his sharp claws, his bones made a crisp clicking sound, his muscles rapidly expanded in a short period of time, his veins bulging, and his body bent down in an attacking posture. Xiao Lv clenched his short sword tightly, looking eager to try. Wang Yu, on the other hand, had an angry expression on his face and angrily drew out his magic light sword, staring at the magnificent skeleton with his eyes fixed on it. Who are you talking about as an ordinary soldier? Chapter 9. Hammer of God. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, leave me alive, werewolves, said the magnificent skeleton. Don't leave any survivors, give me a dead hand. Wang Yu said fiercely. Two werewolf skeletons, one running towards Wang Yu and the other towards Xiao He. Click, click, click. Xiao He's muscles were tense all over his body, and after accumulating strength, he lowered his body and charged towards the werewolf skeleton like an arrow leaving a string. The two collided instantly, unlike the werewolf skeleton with only bones left, Little Black, who had fresh flesh and blood, appeared more agile in the confrontation. With his powerful muscular explosive power, Little Black easily dominated the power battle, gradually pressing the werewolf skeleton under him. Immediately after, he let out a deafening roar and swung a fierce whip leg, slamming the werewolf skeleton away. Take advantage of the victory to pursue. Xiao He jumped up more than half a meter high and flew towards the unstable werewolf skeleton, successfully occupying the advantageous position and launching a continuous attack like a storm. The werewolf skeleton cannot dodge in time and can only withstand Little Black's crazy scratching and heavy blows, presenting a one-sided situation in the entire scene. On the other side, the second werewolf skeleton fiercely charged towards Wang Yu, its claws casting a cold light in the air. Wang Yute, if natural, dodged this blow slightly from his side. Immediately afterwards, he quickly pulled out a water candle from his waist and without hesitation, pressed it close to the eye socket of the werewolf skeleton. The previous experience told him that even without eyes, these undead spirits could be completely visible. The werewolf skeleton was stunned by the sudden strong light, with a brief sense of confusion in its eyes. Wang Yu seized the opportunity and decisively waved the magic light sword in his hand, accurately and mercilessly cutting off the limbs of the werewolf skeleton at lightning-fast speed, causing it to instantly lose all its attack power and fall to the ground, no longer posing a threat. The battles on both sides are almost always determined in an instant. However, the magnificent skeleton did not pay attention to Wang Yu's side. From the beginning, it focused its attention on Little Black and was shocked to see him effortlessly suppressing the werewolf skeleton. Quick, don't worry about ordinary soldiers, go support. Then he raised his water blue staff in his hand. Magic flows within the magnificent skeleton, and a bright magic ball slowly condenses at the tip of the wand, ready to unleash its powerful power. Turn me into dust. Subsequently. Speak up. Before the magic could even gather, the water blue wand broke in two under the purple arc light and fell to the ground. The magnificent skeleton twisted its head in terror, and as soon as it was halfway twisted, it was pressed against its neck by a sword. You call me an ordinary soldier. What are you doing? The gorgeous skeleton gritted its teeth tightly, with a frightened expression on its face. Where is my werewolf? Dead. Wang Yu stared at the magnificent skeleton and then exerted all his strength to cut off all his limbs. By the way, I am the team leader. Until he lost his support and couldn't help but fall to the ground, he found through the gap left in Wang Yu's crotch that the werewolf skeleton on Wang Yu's side had been chopped into a human stick, just like him. The goblin was wielding a short sword and thrusting into the lifeless skeleton of a werewolf. Almost at the same moment, Xiao He also tore the werewolf skeleton on his side to pieces. You. Captain. Originally, it was you who needed priority attention. Stop talking about the magnificent skeleton and pass out. Wang Yu remained silent for a moment, then his anger and blood rushed up. I'll wipe it, don't die. He slapped the face of the magnificent skeleton, but it didn't work, so he slapped it again. If you die, my head will be on me. Wake up quickly. Continuous slaps. In the end, he even pinched the crowd. Don't die, your sister. The magnificent skeleton woke up again in pain, looking at Wang Yu slapping him with a bewildered expression. He felt his cheeks being slapped open. Finally rescued, Wang Yu looked relieved. The gorgeous skeleton was in excruciating pain all over, and all she wanted to do was curse her mother. Is this person sick? He cut himself into a skeleton and saved himself, thinking about something in his heart. Is it because I have been dealing with dead people too much and have already gone crazy? Or do you mean it? I am attracted to my own abilities and want to join the team. What exactly do you want to do? Said the gorgeous skeleton in pain. I want you to die, you hold on for a while. Wang Yu smiled and stood up, making room for Xiao LV. Interestingly, this person is indeed sick. The magnificent skeleton glanced at the approaching goblin with residual light. Xyld's face was flushed with a gloomy smile, and the short sword in her hand was stained with bone debris, walking steadily. At this moment, he saw the haggard werewolf under Little Green's crotch. Broken bones. Not good, this goblin is a pervert. Wang Yu looked at Xiao LV with a joyful expression on his face, his eyebrows raised lightly. Little Green came to the gorgeous skeleton and raised his short sword, making a thrust without paying any attention to the skeleton's screams. He then struck again. Another sword. Another sword. Another sword. Until the gorgeous skeleton's body was completely shattered into countless pieces, Little Green slowly stopped his movements and smiled before taking a breath. Schwang. Little Green trembled all over and placed his short sword in front of his nose, taking a deep breath. Eliminate 3 bodies, clearing experience. Eliminate body LV5, experience plus 50, ghost LV5, 1660/3000, it's too stingy for an LV5 undead to only gain 50 experience points without any experience bonus. Sure enough, it still takes cross-level cultivation experience to come quickly. The focus of this battle is on Little Green, and what skills he can unlock is crucial for the future. Eliminate body LV5, experience plus 50, eliminate body LV7, experience plus 200, ghost level up. Ghost LV2, 150 of 200, Xyld exudes a platinum glow all over her body, accompanied by cheap upgraded sound effects, and her body muscles are more prominent than before. In my hand, there is an extra hammer. Obtain skill. Divine Hammer LV1, skill description. 1. Consuming experience points can recast weapon entries. The higher the level of the weapon entry, the higher the experience points consumed by searching for the book garden www.zhaozuiyuan.com. Skill upgrades will reduce experience points consumption and increase the probability of high-level entries appearing. 2. Damaged equipment can be repaired, which will consume 100 experience points at a time. Amazing. Wang Yu clenched his fist excitedly. As expected, different ghosts will have different corresponding skills. Xiaohei's abstract appearance may seem intimidating from a distance, so his skill is Deterrence. Goblin craftsmen love to repair weapons, so his skill is Hammer of God. Xiao LV raised the hammer, his eyes lit up, and he exclaimed in surprise, I seem to know how to use this thing, but it seems to lack some energy to drive the hammer. Upon hearing this, Wang Yu drew his magic light sword and placed it on the ground. Then, subtitles flashed before my eyes. Magic light sword requires 50 experience to activate the divine hammer. Xiaohei, come over and put your hand on the hammer. Xiaohei followed suit, and when his hand touched the hammer, it emitted a dazzling platinum golden light. The experience was slowly drawn out of Xiaohei's body and poured into the hammer. Experience point 50, Ghost LV5, 1610/3000, let's recast it, Wang Yu ordered Little Green. Immediately after, Little Green tightly grasped the hammer, his strength gathered in his arms, and he suddenly waved it. At the moment when the hammer collided with the magic light sword, sparks splattered and golden light flickered. Through this dazzling light, one can vaguely see that the magic light sword is undergoing some mysterious transformation, as if absorbing the power of a hammer. Wang Yu saw that the cracks were like thin snakes crawling over the entire magic light sword. With a crisp sound, the magic light sword cracked open. Magic light sword broken. Magic light sword, damage 30%, defensive 20%.